Chapter 9. It was awkward. Mindy had 2 messages to send upon the rover's arrival. The first signaled an immediate video, the other that video would be sent within 2 hours as the travelers needed medical and aesthetic attention first. On seeing the condition of Lewis and Watney, she sent the second. They left everything in the rover except the seed stock and bacterial samples that needed to stay warm. Those were kept in a warming container, which was a cooler placed near the RTG. Mark had carefully monitored their condition and didn't want them to overheat, or these would have been left in the rover as well. Lewis and Watney had been traveling for nearly 3 months and were exhausted and filthy. As they only wore their Evas a couple times per day, that happened to be their cleanest clothes. Neither had actually showered in that time, although every day they wiped down with a damp cloth, and every few days a tub-like sample container was filled with water and soap, then they would stand in it and bathe with a cloth as well as they could. Both needed showers, and even though they hand-washed their indoor work clothes and skivvies the same way, they needed new clothes. Fortunately, those were in great supply on the Orion 3. The airlock was big enough for both Watney, Lewis and the cooler, and following tradition, the lowest rank went first. "There you are," Mindy whispered as she looked into the window of the airlock to see Mark in person for the first time since isolation. She had whispered the same thing a half-hour earlier when they saw the rover approaching via the viewing port in the command center. It was what she said when she first saw the photos during the evac and saw Lewis dragging Mark to the hab. It was what she said when Mark picked her up in Houston for their first real date. He looked horrible and filthy. Mark had not been able to shave or cut his hair in about 2 months, as one of the trimmers that had a vacuum to suck the cut hair away broke beyond repair, and Missy demanded that the other be reserved for her. Mark felt pretty feral by that time anyway and didn't argue. Missy was a hot mess too, but did seem to be in better shape emotionally than Mark. She had a determined look about her face, one that Mindy recognized. It was the same face she saw in the mirror whenever she asked herself if she was really up for leading the mission. Mindy saw it every morning and guessed Lewis did as well. The air pressure stabilized, and both removed their helmets. Then Mindy was able to see how truly run down they both looked. They seemed healthy, but exhausted and on the brink of collapse. The hatch opened. "Permission to come aboard?" Mark asked, forcing a smile. "Permission granted. Welcome to Orion 3 and the Victoria 1 mission. It's an honor to have you," Mindy replied. The two shuffled in, wincing at the pressure differential as their ears suddenly popped. Mark looked around as Dana came forward to assist him removing his Eva while Anna assisted Commander Lewis. Both looked stunned to finally be in the relative safety of a habitat that was not likely to rupture at any time in the wind. "Showers are over there, and we have new jumps for you. A year's supply we hope, but Hermes will bring more for the trip home. You both get a med check and then dinner. Then sleep." Mark whimpered. "No, we have some talking to do." "You got that right." Commander Lewis stared. "Oh, so you know about all that. Good. That's one of the things we must talk about, but off mic. Now, showers. Go," Mindy commanded. Whether she could make such an order was suspect. Missy was to be in command on arrival, but it was clear it was Mindy's ship, and Mindy had not formally given it up yet. It didn't matter. They had a lot to discuss, but showers and real food came first. Mindy keyed her mic and sent the message that would cause a celebration all over NASA and their hometowns. "Houston, Victoria 1 actual. Be advised, 5, repeat 5, astronauts safely aboard." Showers were supposed to be 5 minutes maximum, but both reveled in longer as the water would be filtered and recycled for the next round of showers. The ship didn't seem to run out of hot water, and because neither had really felt clean since Mark made Alex's cot into a bath, brevity was waived for this occasion. Dana gave both the once-over, checked blood sugar, both low, heart rate and respiration, normal and weight, also low but not dangerously so. Neither had any major injuries and neither reported anything more than general soreness and exhaustion. Mark's exam took longer as Dana spent a good deal of time examining the scar from the antenna stabbing, but it was healed and appeared to require no immediate attention. Eva suits, especially filthy ones, tended to rub abrasions on various spots, so those were tended to with a pain-killing ointment. Germs were not really an issue, but it did contain an antiseptic compound as no one made one that did not. While Anna and Mindy helped Missy after her exam, Donna and Mark were able to speak in relative privacy. "When did you run out?" Dr. Abernathy asked. "I brought enough down for the mission, the rest were in my stuff on Hermes, but it's private so no one should." "I didn't ask that, Mark. Let's try again. When was the last time you had your meds?" "About 6 or 7 months ago. I rationed as long as I could." "That's not good, Mark. How do you feel?" "Like I'm in Costa Rica." "That's worse. Have you told Commander Lewis?" "No, I didn't want her to worry and NASA doesn't know." "You can't. Doctor-patient confidentiality. We start a new regime in the morning." "I have plenty. But you need to tell Lewis. And Mindy. If Lewis is anything like her, well, you can trust her, I think. It's not a scrub thing, lots of people deal with it successfully, but they need to know so they can give you the support you need. Please. Don't make me carry this alone. K, when the time is right." Mark finally got to shave off the tangled beard he had grown over the last 2 months, and that alone made him feel much better, and with Donna's help in the back got a haircut as well, the cut hair being sucked into the vacuum as they worked. He looked almost human again, and as his body weight was down, every muscle seemed pronounced. Missy looked much the same and was willing to shave her head to get rid of the tangled mess, but Mindy convinced her otherwise. It would not do to appear on camera looking like Ripley from Aliens 3, a film Mindy coincidentally thought was a classic of the genre. Missy hardly spoke and she was nothing like the warm, friendly person she had been described to be. It was clear from her earlier comment she knew about Mindy and Mark, and did not seem forgiving about it, although they had broken neither a NASA rule nor protocol. One more problem to work through. It had been discussed at length among the Victoria crew over the almost 8 months of the trip and decided that since in the rush of mission prep no one had actually asked them, they had not even withheld information. Finally, Lewis and Watney put on loose-fitting jumpsuits, each with an Rs-3 mission patch, and beside it an oval of Velcro which neither really noticed. Both looked thin and pale, but presentable. The low weight was understandable given their rationing, even with the addition of Mark's crop. Both looked pale given their lack of sunlight over their journey, as the only time they were outside was to put out and recover the solar panels, and even then, they were in EVAs. Like the Hermes, the Orion 3 had panels with tanning lights if only to assist in vitamin D production and thus calcium absorption, so both would be spending some time with it over the next few days. Dana nodded to Mindy as they all gathered in the common area again. Mindy nodded back, the message was passed. Suspicion had been confirmed. "So, my orders are to clean you up, have Dr. Abernathy check your vitals, feed you, then turn on the camera and turn over command. The media is begging for footage of you, but we need to get something out of the way first. Commander Lewis, I know by now you are aware of our histories with Mark. That's fine. You need to know that those are histories. We broke no rules, none of us were forbidden to see Mark at those times, Mark was not forbidden to see us. We were brought together randomly, but we all put mission first. Like you, we adore Dr. Watney, but you have our assurances that we will leave all that where it was and there will be no, hanky-panky during our mission. I say this now because while I was dating Mark, I learned that the best pizza in the world comes from Giordano's in Chicago and allegedly the best beer is a local brewery's IPA, so now let's eat." Mindy smiled as Donna and Anna brought a deep dish from the warmer and several beers in plastic containers to the table. The beer was ice cold. It is easy to make things cold on Mars. Mark was stunned. Lewis was too hungry to argue about protocol yet. She wasn't sure if beer was allowed on a NASA craft, in fact she was absolutely certain it wasn't, but at the moment she didn't care. It was cold and delicious, and she wasn't about to turn it down. While everyone sat down, Mindy turned to what passed for a kitchen area on the living deck and returned with another tray. "Oh my God! You brought garlic knots!" Mark shouted. "Would I deliver a pizza 100 million kilometers from Chicago and forget the garlic knots? He's not very bright, is he, Commander Lewis? He has his moments. Grows great corn." Missy smiled as they dug in. No one spoke much as they ate. The food would have been great except that it had been vacuum-packed and frozen for most of a year, but it beat regular rations easily. For a moment Mark almost felt normal again. But he was still felt the stress in all those around him. Finally, when they had gorged themselves, Missy began the conversation they dreaded. I'm not sure what to do about this situation. Mark just learned this morning you three were the Victoria crew. That's what he told me, and I believe you, Mark. Any ideas? Nothing. We broke no rules, and during crew selection no one ever bothered to ask if we knew either of you. Mindy replied. You were obliged to report it to. No one asked us. End of story. Maybe they should have, maybe somebody screwed that up, maybe decisions were being made fast and no one thought to ask, but you have the best possible crew for this ship. We are dedicated to this mission. We've talked for months, we all adore Mark, but we all dropped him for different reasons. Mark didn't break up with us, we did with him. Mark and I grew apart but remained friends. Mark entered mission training and Anna cast him off as a result. Mindy knew going in she would at best have a week before Mark went into isolation, and at best had a promise of a conversation when he returned. None of those reasons have changed. We are here to do a job. Relieve you, do the assigned work and research of the Mars-4 mission, and as Armstrong and Aldrin said, our most important mission on Mars, I paraphrase, is to get off it. Besides, we all have secrets we don't want NASA to know. Dana smiled. It was best if the dagger was in her hand rather than Mindy's. Whoa, wait a second, Mark hasn't done anything wrong and neither have. Mark, how did you get those scratches on your back, thighs, hips and, butt? Does Mars have a previously undiscovered wolf or chupacabra population you failed to report to NASA? Dana smiled. I see your point, Missy admitted. So you will know, I had no intention of reporting anything, but as Commander Park said, there can't be any distractions. Can we commit to that? Sure, Mark replied. Not you, Mark, the rest of us. Anna said with a grin. Yes. Of course. We are your crew commander, and it is an honor to serve with you. Both of you. You are both already legends at NASA and heroes to the world. Your trip overland to here is a thing of myth. Children will be told your story for generations. When I say we are honored, I mean we are happy to be a footnote to the history you have made. As you get to know us better and learn our motivations, I think you will find this to be a great group to fly with. We are going to be a great team. Now, let's do this for the camera and get some rest. Those carbs are killing me. Okay, Lewis replied. You three are nobody's footnote, Mark gasped, choked with emotion. Sure, it's not the beer instead of the carbs. I always figured you for a lightweight. Anna said in an effort to lighten the mood. I could drink you under the table, girl. Mindy replied. Call it Mark, Dana said. Mindy. I've seen her drink. Mark smiled, and all noticed, none more than Commander Lewis, who had missed that smile since the incident with Beth. Mindy and her crew were to one side of the camera's view with Mark and Lewis to the other. The media demanded some footage on arrival, so NASA had made up a formal switching of command. Missy was told she would speak to the camera at the end and say the usual thoughts and prayers line, then they could turn it off while Annie gathered questions for a press briefing the next day. The goal here was for the public to see them, and Annie felt this, although stupid to the crew, would play well. Houston, this is Orion 3, Victoria I Actual. Greetings to all you at home on Earth. I am Commander Melinda Park, of the Victoria 1 crew, and earlier today we received some new members. It is my honor and pleasure to announce that Commander Melissa Lewis and Associate Commander Mark Watney have completed their journey safely and have joined us. In doing so, they have explored more of the Martian surface than all ours missions were planned to, and have no doubt increased our knowledge of the planet exponentially. Commander Lewis, Dr. Watney, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you here at last. Associate Commander. Mark asked quietly. You got promoted on the drive over here. Missy grinned. Oh. Thanks. Mark nearly laughed at the silliness of it all. Commander Lewis, it is my duty and pleasure to turn over command of the Mars-4 station and Orion 3 to you. However, at present yourself and Dr. Watney are out of uniform. Dr. Abernathy, Major Washburn, would you assist them please? Without saying anything, they approached the pair, and on the Velcro oval on their jumpsuits affixed a Victoria 1 patch beside their Rs-3 ones. Thank you. Commanders, you are now in proper uniform, Mindy smiled. I will treasure this forever. Missy said as she looked at the patch. Mark stammered. Thank you. You're very welcome. We are proud to have you. Now, Commander Lewis, I surrender the command of Mars 4 station and the Orion 3 craft, as well as the Victoria 1 mission to you. It has been my greatest honor to lead this crew to this point, and it is our pleasure to serve at your command. Please mark the time as 2:14 a.m. Zulu. Mindy said as she extended a hand to shake Missy's. Thank you, Commander Park. I ask that you continue to operate, lead, control and command the Orion 3. You have done an exemplary job and you are to be commended, as well as Dr. Abernathy and Major Washburn. The journey you volunteered to take to relieve us was most certainly as arduous and dangerous as our own, if not more so. Mark and I are so glad to be with you, and you have our never-ending gratitude. We are overwhelmed by your generosity in journeying to Mars for our benefit. You have sacrificed so much of your life to relieve us, we can never repay you. I should also thank all the great people at NASA, America and everywhere on Earth, and not just on Earth I guess since Hermes has launched, and Discovery is in orbit, for saving our lives. The quest for knowledge is not without risk, space is a dangerous place, but we are proud to represent you here. We came to Mars in peace, we came for all mankind. There will be a more formal press briefing after the crew has had some rest sometime tomorrow, but for now we ask for your thoughts and prayers. Mark and I are warm and safe. Thank you and good night. Everyone stood until Mindy cut the camera off. Then Mark collapsed in tears. Come on big guy, let's get you to your bunk. You want to write your folks? Dana asked. Yeah, that would be good. Missy asked an awkward question quietly while Dana and Anna helped Mark up to the command center. What are the sleeping arrangements here? Well, NASA didn't give us any, but there are 6 fold-down cots here, those things, they are not terrible and we have mattresses of a sort for them, Mindy said as she pointed, and there is another up in the command center that folds down from the seats for in-flight emergencies. In the upright configuration we have the seats, but they folded down into the cot position now and have added a foam mattress like those in the habs to it. It is actually the largest bed and I figured we put Mark there and we take these, unless you want to be by yourself upstairs and leave Mark to us. Mindy smiled. That would work. Until NASA found out and brought us all up on fraternization charges. Good plan, let's go with the first one. Hey, I know I was, a bit of a hypocrite earlier. Maybe tomorrow you and I can talk. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of, but Mark isn't one of them. I'm just, well, exhausted and in shock that he knew all of you. What are the odds? The way Mark got around, probably not as high as you think, Mindy smiled, but you know, I don't regret a thing either. Mark's great. We broke it off for isolation. I knew that when I first went out with him, that it was going to end in a week. I didn't mean to, but you know as well as I, it doesn't take long to get emotionally invested in him. He's such a great, guy. I was thinking yoga master like naked twister partner, but yeah, guy too. Mindy giggled. True, especially in small spaces like a habcot. Or rover. Look, if you two want to continue, none of the rest of us will notice. We're not jealous, we all want him to be happy. I am supposed to ask for the shrink lady what's up with him lately though. No, we've stopped. I guess I'm like every other woman in his life. We're going to talk back on Earth. Us too. I guess. We agreed to, but you know, things change. I'm not a middle school girl that can't move on from a crush, none of us are. Mindy replied. I don't think that Mark has changed. From the moment your name came up it was clear he was fond of you. If we hadn't been talking about my semi-ex-husband I probably would have, well. I understand that's, reassuring in a way. But, what is a semi-ex-husband? The guy that I'm married to and who demanded a divorce when we got stranded. Another conversation I must have when I get back home. And that is a lot of what is wrong with Mark right now I think, or a big part of it. He has at least 3 of those conversations to plan, at least, and I think, well. I think it's a struggle for him. As easy as he is to fall for, he falls himself just as easily. I knew I was right about how he felt about you from the look in his eyes over dinner. I was thinking the same thing about you and him, and how he looked at you. He's hurting right now, isn't he? I think he's just been brave too long. Look, I'll be honest, I may have been in command, but he is the one that came up with practically everything that has saved us so far. Well, since the supply drop from Hermes, that was a group effort led by Rick. I came up with the idea to warm the rover, but that was about it. He's the one that made it safe, invented all the mods, grew the crops, made about 600 liters of water from hydrazine and liquid oxygen. You know, they've been up there a while, should we check on them? It was about then that Anna returned. Mark is still upset, you guys want to talk to him. Hydrazine and liquid oxygen. You're going to have to tell me about that sometime. Mindy said as they ascended to the command cabin. If I knew how dangerous it was, well, it saved our lives. The commanders arrived at Mark's bunk to find him wrapped in a blanket, shivering and crying as Donna held him. Mark, what's wrong? They need to know, Mark, this is worse than Costa Rica, but we can whip it, you, me, all of us. You can tell them, I don't care. What can NASA do anyway? Send me home. Okay. If you're sure, I mean. I can order you to if you like, if that gives you cover, Missy said, but with kindness in her voice, as if to let them know she would give them the order as an excuse, not with anger. Missy's heart was breaking to see Mark having come so unglued. No, it's okay, go ahead. Okay. This information is privileged and shared under NASA's general medical privacy rules. It can be used for the mission, but not repeated. I would prefer you not repeat it to NASA. I don't want to go through a review, no matter how well intended, as it would be pointless. If you feel you must report it, well, like Mark said, they can fire us and send us home, I guess. You know, Mark and I met in Costa Rica when he was in the Peace Corps. I was working with DWB doing hurricane relief when they brought Mark in with dengue fever. It's a viral infection spread by mosquitoes. The first case is like the worst flu you ever had, but generally isn't fatal. The second almost always is, so once, well, Mark was going to be shipped. We spent a lot of time together and I noticed Mark had some unexplained mood swings, nothing sinister, he never got angry about anything, well, you know Mark. Most of the time he was quite happy, no matter how sick he was. Other times, sullen, for no reason. On a hunch I checked his blood work and found a low lac count. That's not something a doctor in a tropic medevac center looks for except to confirm the diagnosis of what they already believed, in Mark's case, in lay terms, depression. Now, lay people still associate depression with being sad all the time, and that can be the case but usually isn't. In most cases you swing like a pendulum between elation and sullen. Mark's was pretty mild, and I prescribed bupropion hydrochloride, which works great, has no real side effects and is almost 100% effective. It was for Mark. Mark and I hit it off, we never really fell in love down there, but we were close, not seeing anyone else, and enjoyed our time together. I really should have referred him to another doctor, but it was all under control. Even when we fell for each other and decided to both go to Houston to apply, well, we were really close then obviously, but Mark's depression was just completely gone, or managed very well. Until ours 3. You should have told us, me and Chris anyway. If it's under control, they probably would not have scrubbed you. Lewis said. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just ashamed, I guess. Mark cried. Society's treatment of depression and related illnesses can cause shame, and it is shame for no reason. Mark has an electrolytic imbalance in his brain that screws with serotonin production. Nothing more, nothing less, and easily treatable. It wasn't ours 3 that made it become a problem for him. I wrote Mark a script for enough of his meds, it's 1 pill a day, so I wrote 2 years worth at one of the hospitals I attend at, checked it out to clinic, and he took it with him. No problems. Until Mr. Genius here goes to planet, leaving most of his script on the Hermes. He wasn't supposed to be here that long, and while you are treated, it really does seem like it's under control. So, he rationed as well as he could, until he ran out. About the time Beth called. Lewis said. No, about a month before then. That was the first manifestation, I think. I don't know who Beth is really other than the CISOP, I mean, who he is to Mark, but he decided he was going to die here and wanted Beth to know she was free, and he wanted her cared for. Maybe these feelings for her are delusional on his part, as it gets more severe it can. No. That's Raoul. We'll talk about it later, please continue. Oh, well that's good news medically. Dana replied. Okay, so cut to the chase, what can we do about it? Mindy asked. Oh simple, we start a new regime. I sort of suspected Mark might run out and bupropion hydrochloride is useful for just general depression like one might expect on an extended mission, as opposed to clinical like Mark has, so I had the NASA Med group load up on it. I've got enough to last all of us until we get back to Earth if need be. So, tomorrow Mark starts over and for the foreseeable future I monitor him, in a few days he should be fine. But tonight, well, we are going to hang out with him. Can we move movie night to Tuesday? Wait, why not start now, and what is movie? Well I can figure what movie night is, why does that matter? Well Mr. Genius drank about 3 of those beers and treatment starts with fairly large doses, more than I would suggest is healthy with alcohol, which is itself a depressant. And we use the command data screen for movies as it is the biggest and highest res in the ship. So, we can all hang out here. If that's okay. I think having company is the best solution until the morning. Commander Park, it's your ship, your call on movie night. I didn't even know it was Tuesday. I won't report anything unless treatment doesn't work, because, well, fuck NASA and fuck Mars. I'm about damn sick of its shit. Mark, my mother suffered with depression for years so I understand. I need to know, is there anything else you haven't told me? No, I mean, not that I know of. I'm so sorry Missy. It's okay, we'll get through it. You're still my road warrior. She said as she sat beside him and pulled his head to her shoulder so he could cry his eyes out. Dana and Mindy went to retrieve Anna, blankets, snacks and drinks. Their entertainment files were already on the mainframe. While on the lower level Mindy looked to Dana and asked. Road warrior. What kind of sick games did they play anyway? Well, it's Mark so, you know. Dana replied with a grin. It took a while for Mark to fully get back, but within a week his obvious mood swings were gone, and he was assisting setting up the botany hab. He had little contact outside the crew and his parents, usually only listening to the botanists and engineers on Earth giving instructions which he took with a grain of salt. He was after all, as he regularly told anyone that would listen, the greatest botanist in the world. When he finally did return to public life though it was in a big way. While on Earth the Hermes crew had an opportunity to spend time with their families and visit a few schools and children's hospitals. One of the more whimsical opportunities came from a sportswear company, following a visit to St. Jude's in Memphis, asking that they pose in the company's workout briefs and tees, and their considerable fees would be matched by the company to St. Jude's. All agreed except Beth, who although considered with what need to be the sex symbols of the crew, was basically a shy introvert. A compromise was reached and just after they left the company ran the ad on multiple sites, feed services and networks as well in print wherever it could. The heading of the ad said we asked the Ars-3 to show us what they wore under their space suits, with the company logo beside it and the photo showed the very buff Rick, Chris and Alex each grinning ear to ear in the company's boxer briefs and tight tees, and each holding whiteboard signs that collectively read we said yes, but just to raise money for St. Jude's. Beth had been right about making sure Annie got some pictures of Alex in something tight. All looked buff as all hell, but Alex had a special ability to fill out the briefs. Beside them in the photo was a grinning, blushing, Beth in a conservative knee-length sundress looking as cute as a button, holding a whiteboard that said nope, but please help save lives. Give to St. Jude's and gave the web address. The ad was quite popular and over the next week many memes were born, some outstandingly profane, but a lot of money was donated. The following week NASA received a picture from Victoria 1 with Anna, Dana and Mindy, all in their NASA jumpsuits holding a banner that said "We're with you Dr. Johansson. Nope, but please give," and again citing the web address. It wasn't a great picture as it was shot as a lark, but the message was clear. This too was published, Annie made sure of it and was itself quite popular and gained a lot of media brownie points. The popularity stirred Annie to build on it, so after several requests, with all her suggestions rejected, she received a photo of Missy Lewis, in her EVA, with the helmet off, holding a sign that said "No. Are you crazy? But please give," and again cited the address. Mark being the only holdout became Annie's full-time target and the chunk of public that was following the trend wondered what would come next. Most thought NASA had saved the best for last, but Mark was still sullen and withdrawn, although very much on the mend. Finally, after much cajoling, whining and begging, he agreed to a photo, on his terms. At his bunk he put on clean boxers, rolled them up and down so they could not be seen behind the sign that read "I Go Commando. Please support children's cancer research at St. Jude's," and gave the address. He was grinning like a fool and buff like a sculpture of a Greek god. Annie had to debate whether to release it or keep it for herself.